I like museums for the moods they invite. Not everything appeals to you, of course. Many of the objects are lost on you. But museums are made for passing through. Some works we pass along. Some works we gather in. They feel like clearings. This is particularly true, I think, of large-scale art, if you like it. Leon Laston likes stacked waters.
Hi, my name's Leon Laston. I'm a volunteer at the Blanton, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about this beautiful installation called Stacked Waters. The artist's name is Teresita Fernandez. The work is meant to represent a pool of water, which is darkest at the bottom like a real pool, and then as you walk up the stairs, it gets lighter, and it occupies the entire room. It was installed in 2009. It's obviously unique to the Blanton, and even though it might look like glass, the tiles are actually plastic, acrylic, and they're backed with wood, and the tiles look like this. And here's the back of a tile. So they fit together tongue and groove. The patterning on the tile is meant to evoke the idea of water.
I like large bodies of water. I like water used architecturally. Things like an entryway into a place of shelter. Water has the right symbolic charge, I think, for beginning a walkthrough of a museum. In Chinese philosophy, there's a concept called Wu Wei, which means following the path of least resistance. And water is often used as an illustration of how to do something effortlessly. Water, of course, when it's frozen, stops all movement. In fact, the state of being encased in ice is a hellish fate. It is the image that Dante uses in the Inferno to portray the fate of the king of hell, Satan. His legs and bodies are frozen in ice, symbolizing how alone he is, beyond the reach of all intimacy, friendship, connection. He's the rebel, after all. So water, unfrozen, flowing, brings to mind the natural order of connection, of tranquility, of effortless action. I think our minds have a need for reverie, daydreaming, long spells of quiet, whether that's in a garden or at a museum or with a book. I think we have a need for a variety of visions, a wide range of particulars. And that's what we get, I think, in a museum. I think it's the natural order. Of course, there are other natural orders, for instance, tribalism, separating our kind from other kinds. Museums speak to our desire to hear other ways, see other ways of making sense of the world, of expressing the rightness and wrongness. There are other impressive large-scale art installations at the Blanton. For example, How to Build a Cathedral by Silo Mierceles is made of cow bones hung from a ceiling, strongly illuminated by a light over a quadrangle of brightly copper pennies. The symbolism here is, I think, heavy-handed. It's obviously an indictment of the church's dealings, complicity with capitalism and labor exploitation. As with stacked waters, though, on the whole, the piece is calming. And large-scale art, I think, has that function. It takes you in. You sit with it. Even those cases of public art where it's assumed that people are going to pass by, routinely ignore the sculpture. I think the large art object functions to put you in your body, to put you into a place more fully. I really enjoy Monochrome for Austin, a 2015 installation on the campus of University of Texas at Austin by Nancy Rubens. It's just gorgeous snarl of aluminum, a heap of chrome in the shape of canoes. Well, they are canoes. Which, if you think about the symbolism there, the canoe is an antiquated mode of conveyance. At least the birch and wood versions are associated with the indigenous people of America. So you have the symbolism of early America. And these aluminum versions, I think, reference the 1950s America, the middle class whites who would vacation in their big cars and their Airstream trailers. That view of the post-war American years as sort of the rising tide of wealth for everyone. Of course, we know that that's not true now, that wealth wasn't being created and shared by everyone. So that's why I think this particular sculpture is so apt, because it's a snarl, it's a tangle of these canoes hung up in the air. If anyone who's been near a river after a flood, you get used to seeing a snarl of weeds and brush hung up in the air, and you know something tragic has happened recently, a terrible flood. So that's what I see in this sculpture. I see some of the symbols of America, or at least an idealized version of America, run into a kind of tangle, showing, or at least hinting at, things were not all as great as some of the nostalgic views paint. Speaking of America and its symbols, there's none more sanctioned than the nation's flag. There's a flagpole on the east side of Austin at the Texas State Cemetery that has attracted my attention several times when I'm passing by on my bike. I really admire the shapes that the cloth it makes when the wind moves it around. I've never served in the military. I've never fought in a war. I don't have experience with the idea of America united in some noble effort. Open spaces are, I think, the most democratic symbols that we have. There's one such space I have in mind. Under Highway 35, lots of people come down there. The homeless, kids, joggers, people who like to fish, people who look at ducks. It's not a park per se, but it is part of the city's hike and bike trail around the Ladyburg Lake. I'm usually passing through on my way to somewhere else, but sometimes I stop and I watch people and I look at the water and I enjoy the sheltering aspect of being underneath the freeway. I'm not bothered by the sound. It sort of fades into a white noise background. The respite from the sun is nice, of course, in Texas.